This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN.Network. And joining me right now is Guy Goldberg. He is the Chief Business Officer of RedHill Biopharma. It's a publicly traded company. The symbol is RDHL. Guy, thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
Great. Thanks very much for hosting me.
It's a pleasure to have you on. So it's been about a little over a year since we did an interview with RedHill's CEO. So a lot's gone on in the company since then. So can you provide a little bit of an update and some corporate highlights for the last 12 months?
Yes, absolutely. It's been a very exciting 12 months that we've had. And it's been a very important 12 months because this past year has positioned us to become a leading U.S. specialty company, even with all the pandemic and all the challenges that has given every company out there. So on the commercial side, the first important development, the first important milestone that we've had in the last years, we received approval for Talicia. This is a product we developed in-house. It's a potential blockbuster new treatment for H. pylori infection. H. pylori is a very large market with 2 to 3 million treatments per year. And it's an underserved market with big problems of resistance for the existing standard of care. We have a best-in-class, first-in-class drug, wholly owned by RedHill and promoted by our commercial team. Second important development on the commercial side is we've really developed and expanded our commercial team. We brought in a very experienced team that was the core foundation of Salix's success. Salix, your viewers might recall, was a #1 GI company in the world. And many of the core functions that are in-house now at RedHill are led by those same Salix team members. So we really have a team that's worked closely in the past in GI and has been very successful. And we've already grown our sales team to over 100 reps, supported by a full managed market team and also by a medical affairs team. And then the next thing that's happened on the commercial side is we've acquired Movantik from AstraZeneca. Movantik is a brand leader in the opioid-induced constipation space. It's a great synergy for our commercial efforts with Talicia, and we get to benefit from the significant investment that AstraZeneca did to make it a brand leader. Last year, it did $96 million in net sales, and in April alone, which is the first month that we had the product, it did $7.3 million. And then last, on the commercial side, we have a great partnership now with Cosmo, which is a leading GI company in Europe. So from Cosmo, we were able to acquire the exclusive rights to Amcolo, which is an FDA-approved product for traveler's diarrhea. And also, they made a strategic investment in RedHill, a $36.3 million investment at a premium price. And we think there are more great things in the future with that relationship. On the R&D side, in the past year, we've made great progress. First, with RHP 204, which is our NTM program, which is getting ready for a pivotal phase 3 study. And then, of course, with our COVID-19 program, we have Opaganib with its unique mechanism of action, supported by a lot of previous preclinical and clinical work, which we have leveraged in order to rapidly advance Opaganib into a phase 2/3 global study, and also into a phase 2A study in the United States, which has already started recruiting.
So would you say that the company is hit? I mean, every management team has a vision for the company, right? That whether it's 12 months ago at a certain given period of time. So would you say the company has hit on some of its goals that it's been trying to achieve for the last 12 months?
Yeah, absolutely. We've hit on the goals and then some. Originally when we were launching Talicia, our vision was commercial infrastructure focused on this great product. And Talicia is a product where you build a brand. Now, the dream of a commercial team is to be able to balance sort of a brand building product with a product that's already has a lot of recognition in the space. And that's exactly what we were able to do, as luck would have it, with Movantik. So acquiring a brand leader that did almost $100 million in net sales last year really is a dream for a company like ours with a growing sales force, and a sales force looking to establish itself as a leading GI expert out there and a trusted name in GI. So that combination of product along with Amcolo really positions us for success on the commercial side of things. And then, of course, I would say COVID is another surprise. We had a pipeline of products that we're very excited about. And when this pandemic hit, the ability to take a product that we were developing it and repurpose it for COVID and potentially do a lot of good and address a major world health challenges. Again, something we wouldn't have dreamed that we would be doing a year ago, and here we are right at the forefront of those efforts.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think in non-pandemic times, we'd be talking more about the commercial efforts for GI, but in the last 4 months, since the outbreak, the company has announced this clinical program to treat COVID with Opaganib. Yeah,
Right.
I did it good. All right, good.
You got it.
Yeah, all right, good. And so this is really at the forefront right now, because that's really been most of the news flow from the company in the last few months here. So can you provide, just describe a little bit about how you're repurposing it and some of the progress thus far?
Sure, absolutely. So Opaganib is a product that's been in development for several years. It's been studied extensively. So we have a great foundation to build on to get a head start. And that includes extensive preclinical and clinical data that gives us a great idea of the safety and potential efficacy of the drug in COVID-19. And that has allowed us to generate some very exciting news in a very short period of time. And that really stands apart. And that includes compassionate use data with highly encouraging outcomes in hospitalized COVID-19 patients. So we've already taken our drug and administered to hospitalized patients in a leading hospital in Israel with some exciting results. Of 5 evaluable hospitalized patients, all were able to be weaned off of oxygen and discharged from the hospital without need for mechanical and ventilation. And that compares very favorably to case control, similar patients in similar situations. We're also able to show very measurable clinical and meaningful clinical improvements and in inflammatory markers. And that includes, as I mentioned, decreased requirements for supplemental oxygen. Also, these patients had higher lymphocyte counts, which is a great indicator of improvement in viral infection. And then last, decreased in CRP, which is a standard marker of inflammation. So both on the clinical view of things, how these patients are doing, whether they're hospitalized, whether they need oxygen, and also with these biomarkers that you take, they're all showing that the trends are looking good. That's a first very important news flow that we've had. The second is on the clinical studies. So because of all this prior work that we've been able to do, we were able to advance very quickly a phase 2A study design through FDA. FDA gave approval, and we opened up an IND with them. And we've already started this study in the United States. It's a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled study, also in severe to critical COVID-19 patients who require high-flow oxygen. And then last, we're starting a phase 2/3 international study, and also in severe hospitalized patients. And we're targeting areas of the world where there's a huge number of patients with epidemic is rampant, and we expect that study to, if the recruitment pace goes as we expect, to potentially allow us to have emergency use authorization as early as Q4. So we have a lot going on. Again, we have a head start because of all this work that we've done, and it's really positioned us as at the head of the pack to get great data and be out there to help patients.
So I also have to ask, because a number of companies with the outbreak, there wasn't too many companies working on any kind of COVID treatment or just anything really.
Right.
You got to go where the need is, of course. So there's been now a lot of companies, which is great. A lot of biotechs, just everything going after it and looking for ways in which they can help. So I have to ask, how is Opaganib? How are you positioning that as a treatment for COVID-19? How is it different and unique compared to some of your peers? And do you guys have a timetable? It sounds like it's already somewhat available on the compassionate use side, but is it going to be more readily available as we move forward here?
Yeah, thanks. So it's available for compassionate use in Israel. It's not yet available in the United States. I think the way that a lot of people are looking at it is clinical studies are kind of the way to the right development path. Early in the pandemic, there was more of a compassionate use focus. Now it's a little bit more on the clinical study design. But it's a great question you asked. How are we differentiated? Obviously, there are a lot of companies that are looking to repurpose their drugs or looking to get into this space, develop it. How are we different? What are we doing that's unique? I would answer this question in 2 ways. First, looking at the molecule itself and how it works. So Opaganib is one of the very few novel molecules with a unique mechanism of action. So it inhibits SK2, which is an important lipid kinase that catalyzes the formation of S1P, which is a lipid. Why is that important? It's important because the result is that it has a dual mechanism of action. So it's both anti-inflammatory and antiviral. So it works in two ways. So it can help with the way the disease is manifesting, and it can also help with the underlying viral activity, which is causing all of those clinical symptoms that we're all so familiar with. So that's very, very unique. It has a unique dual mechanism of action. And this one that it focuses on, the SK2, is first in class and best in class, as there are no other SK2 inhibitors in clinical development. So that's a very important element of differentiation. It's also orally administered, which will make it very convenient for patients and sets it apart from drugs like remdesivir. The other part that I think differentiates us is the advanced stage of development. I mentioned all the prior development work that we've done that's given us confidence to move forward. So that includes in vitro studies, toxicity studies. You know, this drug has been studied in over 141 people already. So we have pretty good idea of the safety and tolerability profile, and that's very important. And then on the efficacy side of things, we have some very exciting data that it also enables us to head start. So we've already studied the drug in different virus models. That includes a chikungunya model, flu model, Ebola model. These are all virus models, and they're all of them were, and the drug was effective in all of them, suggesting that it could be effective in models such as COVID-19. So there's a lot of preclinical data supporting it. It's also been effective as an anti-inflammatory agent in a pulmonary model of Pseudomonas, which looks at lung injury. And we did an in vivo study there where we showed normalized inflammatory response to TNF-alpha and IL-6. So these are all very important markers, again, all supporting what we saw in our compassionate use patients, which was clinical and biomarker improvement. And it's all painting a pretty consistent story of a drug which has potentially a very exciting use in COVID-19. You asked a little bit about the timetables. So it depends, of course, on the pace of recruitment of patients, but we are hopeful that the phase 2A study that I mentioned could read out by the end of this quarter. As I mentioned, we've already started recruiting. And the phase 2/3 global study, which is a much bigger study, we plan to initiate that one this month. And if all goes well, we could have data supporting emergency use authorization as early as Q4 of this year. So we're doing a lot of work in parallel. And then, of course, we're also ramping up manufacturing planning. So there's a lot of work that we're doing in parallel to be ready, or if the data is successful, to make this drug widely available.
So then from what you can tell us, what would you say are some of the company's value catalysts now moving forward?
Sure. The value catalysts are several. So first, the phase 2A study that I mentioned in Opaganib in severe hospitalized COVID-19 patients. We have an important readout coming out most likely by the end of this quarter, again, depending on recruitment. That's a very important catalyst to prove in a clinical setting that your drug works, that the mechanism of action is relevant. It really is a game changer, not just for the company, but for the pandemic. And then similarly, the phase 2/3 study, we'll be initiating that in hospitalized patients, also in severe patients with pneumonia this month. And again, with that, we could have data by the end of the year, and that's a bigger, robust study. And that could also be very meaningful in terms of the pandemic and also for the company. A couple other milestones that I will mention is the rapidly growing sales. We do have a full commercial infrastructure. We're promoting of two very exciting products, Talicia for H. pylori, which we believe can be a blockbuster drug, and Movantik, which is a leader for opioid-induced constipation, did $96 million in sales last year, and we hope to build on that work that AstraZeneca did to continue to make it a leader and potentially even grow it. And then, of course, we also have Mcolo, FDA-approved drug for traveler's diarrhea that we'll also be promoting. And then the last important catalyst to mention, RHB204 for NTM. We didn't talk too much about the pipeline, but that's the second part of our company. We are a very exciting pipeline with lots of of drugs in late stage addressing unmet medical need. The leading, most advanced product there is NTM, RDHB204 for NTM infections. This is a pulmonary infection, and we will be starting a pivotal study for first-line MTM infections soon. And this is a drug where there's no FDA approved product on the market for first line. So to be able to start that really in the next short period of time really sets us ahead of the pack, and we think we'll be coming to a very large market with an unmet medical need within a very exciting product.
Well, with that, where can my audience go and find everything they need to know about RedHill?
Yes, you're welcome to see our website. We have a lot of information there, our corporate presentation, lots of press releases with updated information. We're always happy to put your readers on our distribution list so they can get the news as it's hot off the press. And we're very excited about doing good things in the world in the coming months and year.
Absolutely. Well, Guy, with that, thank you so much for joining us today. We wish you guys the best of luck. Stay safe. And yeah, we look forward to our next update.
Yes, thank you. Likewise.